New York just proposed a bill recently that, in my opinion, is not just a threat to manufacturing in the United States, it's also a threat to the concept of open source software existing as a whole. It actually helps move us in the opposite direction of what I want on this channel, which is where the devices and the things that we rely on every day don't have to connect to the internet in order to work. This would essentially do the exact opposite. It's taken me a while to do this video because there's many things that have to be explained. And each section is going to build on the previous section. And it's very difficult to figure out what order do I put everything in so that I don't lose people along the way. So let's talk about this law that was proposed in New York State. This did not go through the standard legislative process. This was passed via a budget initiative so that it would not have to get debated on the floor. Keeping New Yorkers safe. Governor Hochul signs legislation to strengthen public safety and make our streets and subways safer. This is going to crack down on the scourge of illegally 3D printed ghost guns and do-it-yourself machine guns, which... okay, sounds great. So people can't just randomly make guns and go around and kill people. Great, we just fixed everything now, right? No, I'm going to try to drill down into the specifics of why this is one of the worst laws that I've ever seen. Let's read the definition. Three-dimensional printers. No person, firm, partnership, or association or corporation shall sell or deliver any three-dimensional printer in the state of New York unless such printer is equipped with blocking technology. As used in this section, the terms three-dimensional printer and blocking technology shall have the meaning of, let's just scroll to that. Three-dimensional printer means any machine capable of rendering a three-dimensional object from a digital design file using additive manufacturing, or any machine capable of making three-dimensional modifications to an object from a digital design file using subtractive manufacturing. Well, what does that apply to? Are we talking about a build that deals with 3D printers, or are we talking about manufacturing as a whole? See, one of the things that is very important to understand here, and why I'm not going to be getting into the discussion or the debate about gun control in this video, is that talking about gun control while having this conversation is, in my opinion, accepting the premise of assholes. And I'm not saying that people who are for or against gun control are assholes. I'm saying that this is not a gun control bill. This is a manufacturing control bill. So the moment that you start arguing back and forth on whether gun control is good or bad, whether this is a good form of gun control, you are now having the wrong argument. You have essentially conceded that to your adversary that this is a gun control bill when it is not. This is a manufacturing control bill. Let's talk about everything that we could consider covered under their definition of the law. We're not just talking about your standard Doodoo Labs 3D printer that has a burning thermistor 3 or 6 months in that you could buy on Amazon for $300. We're not talking about that. We are talking about resin printers like what you find in dentistry and jewelry, industrial metal printers like what you see in automotive and aerospace, bioprinters, commercial food printers, large-scale concrete construction printers, CNC lathes, CNC mills and routers, laser cutters and engravers, CNC plasma and water jet cutters. That's a fuck ton more than just a Bamboo Labs 3D printer. Now, what is blocking technology? Hardware, software, firmware, or other integrated technological measures capable of ensuring a three-dimensional printer will not proceed to print any print job unless the underlying three-dimensional printing file has been evaluated by a firearms blueprint detection algorithm and determined to not be printing a file that will produce a firearm or illegal firearm parts. Firearms blueprint detection algorithm means a software service that evaluates three-dimensional printing files, whether in the form of stereolithography files or other computer-aided design files or geometric code, to determine if they can be used to program a three-dimensional printer to produce a firearm or other illegal firearm parts, and flag any such files to prevent their use for manufacture of said firearm or firearm parts, aka spyware. Something has to run on the printer that can see what it is you're doing with the printer. Now, if we're talking about checking this against the database, databases are always updated, which means that now in order for your printer to print, you have a printer that has to connect to the internet. But we're not just talking about a 3D printer. We're talking about resin printers, common in dentistry, jewelry, industrial metal printers, common in automotive and aerospace, bioprinters, everything else that I just explained. Every single part of our manufacturing base is now going to have spyware in it that connects to the internet that can stop it from printing if the spyware thinks that you want to print a gun. Keyword thinks. Why is this so difficult? This is difficult because a 3D printed gun has never killed anybody, at least to my knowledge. Now, I know what you're thinking right here. I know you're probably going to stop in the video. Lewis, no. The healthcare CEO, Diane Thompson, was killed by a 3D print. No, he was not. He was killed by a gun that included 3D printed components. And I know that that seems like an actually, but it is not. That is not how this works. You are not buying a $300 Doodoo Labs 3D printer, downloading a file and hitting Control-P and getting a gun. That's not how it works. You need an understanding of what 3D printing can and cannot make. I am not a firearms enthusiast or a 3D printing enthusiast, so I was ignorant, like many people who may be watching this video who think you just download a file, you hit Control-P, and then your 3D printer magically just comes out with a gun that you can shoot people with. And that's not the way it works at all. These guns guns are going to require metal parts in order to work properly, and I've gone over and I've taken pictures of a bunch of these parts and put them on this wiki article on my user space page that you can see down below. An AR-15 upper receiver, which houses the bolt and carrier group, a bolt carrier, a barrel, an action spring. There's a bunch of different parts. And if we're talking about Luigi Mangione's, allegedly, gun that was used to kill Brian Thompson, one important thing to understand is that if you want to build that gun, you are not just going to hit Control P on a 3D printer and be able to get it. This is a journalist that tried to put together a 3D printed gun, and what he found, and what I'm going to show you, is that this is not as simple as, oh, look, I'm just going to hit Control P on the gun.
We ordered everything we needed. A 3D printer, plastic filaments, and household products like epoxy were all just a few clicks away on sites like Lowe's or Amazon. And the more specialized components were available on sites that sell gun parts, just not the gun.
All of these parts that you're looking at over here, these are all parts that they're purchasing from sites that sell gun parts. You are not 3D printing a gun. You are 3D printing individual pieces for a gun. The pressure-bearing parts were ordered as finished metal components. The slide and the barrel sitting on the table in front of us, the very gun-like components that actually hold the round and contain the explosive forces that propel a bullet. All of these pieces are pieces that are bought separately. Why is that important? Well, we're not printing a gun, we're printing parts to a gun, and this needs to detect the parts of the gun. Well, let's take a look at what these parts look like. On the left is a suppressor, the part that makes the gun make less noise. On the right is a Tesla valve, designed as a one-way fluid conduit. Do you notice anything about the appearance of these two items? This is a piece on a Glock pistol. This is a camera flash and accessory shoe that you use to attach a flash to a camera. On the left is a suppressor, otherwise known as a silencer in the movies. On the right is a flashlight. On the left is a stripped AR-15 lower receiver. On the right is a 3D printed case to a Raspberry Pi computer. On the left is a pistol grip. On the right is a cordless drill. On the left is a Glock 17 pistol. On the right is a barcode scanner. The closest the thing on the right gets to killing me is when they use this at H-E-B to scan my groceries post-Iran war. In all seriousness, we're not talking about 3D printing a gun. We're talking about 3D printing the individual parts of a gun. And I could go on forever here if I wanted to, and I'm sure that you guys in the audience will continue to edit this article with as many silly and ridiculous examples as you want. When you ask an AI a question and it gets something wrong, when YouTube puts a copyright claim on something that should not have a copyright claim on it, that is because of random algorithms trying to detect shit. Can you imagine if our entire manufacturing capacity as a country were to go into the shitter because the spyware inside of the printer thought that I was trying to make a part to a gun because I was printing a cylinder or a grip or a camera flash mount? This is bad. The law references STL files. An STL file is only a list of coordinates for the triangles that tile an object's surface. Moving a single vertex by 1,000th of a millimeter or remeshing the surface so it carries one fewer triangle is going to rewrite the file and change its fingerprint, while leaving the printed object identical to the hand and to a set of calipers. A library of fingerprints, the form that the statute's directive to store scans of seized firearms most often takes, matches only the files that it has already recorded, byte for byte. Feature matching against the template is harder to evade than a raw fingerprint, but it reduces to measuring a shape against the reference, which returns us to our central problem. The reference shapes are shared with benign parts. Because file fingerprinting is brittle, a scanner could instead read the G-code the slicer produces. G-code is not a model, it's a list of the motor moves that it's going to make, the tool path that the printhead follows layer by layer. But the same receiver yields different G-code when it's rotated on the build plate. So let's say I am trying to print this. Let's say instead of print this, I'm printing this. You get what I'm going at here, right? Like, the G code is not going to help you very much here, because I could just take the item out of the 3D printer. Instead of it printing like this, it prints like this. Like, this is all silly. But let's say all that stuff worked just fine. Let's say that none of these are actual issues. Restricted geometry is a set of voids and features assembled into one shape, and a constructive solid geometry lets a builder take it apart. An AR-15 lower can be divided into the magazine well, the fire control pocket, and the buffer and grip mount, each saved as its own file, printed on separate days and then bolted or solvent welded together. Each file on its own is a plain box or block that no per-file scan recognizes as part of a firearm. To catch this, a scanner would have to track a user's whole print history and predict how separate shapes assemble in the physical world, which the per-file check the statute describes do not do. Easy way to fix that, right? Instead of just checking what you're printing against the database, what if we just track your behavior while you're using the printer? You see the problem. Well, in order to do that, we can't just check against the local database. We would have to have the thing connect to the internet and also track a database of everything you print on a regular basis. even if it's not a firearm. This is not gun control. It has nothing to do with gun control. It's manufacturing control. And that's what it should be called. Let's say that all this tracking shit worked, right? Let's hypothetically say in some fantasy land that you're not dealing with a clanker that hallucinates, that gets shit wrong like this or any millions of examples I'm sure you've experienced when dealing with AI. Let's say that you're dealing with an algorithm that actually works. This still is not possible and makes absolutely no sense. The 3D printing world is based on open source tools and open source software. The slicer, the thing that takes the picture on your screen and then turns it into something the 3D printer can actually make, all of this is based on open source software. Open source software means that the source code is available for you to see and that you can modify it and change it as you wish. So all of the stuff that this is all built upon is based on software that anybody can look at. So if you were to write a restriction into this software, you could just edit it out immediately. I'll give you an example of open source software here. I have a terminal. I love my terminal. There are many like it, but this one is mine. This is my terminal. I use XFCE terminal. Now the XFCE terminal has its source code online. And one of the features that I wanted on mine is I wanted the ability to rename things. So I can actually go over here and say, and I can rename my terminal tabs over here. Each of these tabs can be named. This is not a feature or functionality that was included with the program, but I'm able to add that because the publishers of this software make it available publicly. I'm allowed to modify and redistribute this software however I want. And I did. I added a feature to the software that allows me to rename the tabs in my terminal. One of the rules of this is that if I make any modifications to software that's licensed like this, I then have to make them available to all of you. So if any of these 3D printer companies decided to put restrictions in there or spyware that says you're not printing unless it matches this database, I as the end user could simply edit that right out of the source code immediately, and then I just go back to having a 3D printer that doesn't have any of this bullshit in it. How do you solve that problem? You just stop enforcing open source licenses altogether, which is essentially the death of open source. You already have 3D printers that are going in this direction. Cruelty is going in this direction. They're violating the GPL. Doodoo Studio is violating the GPL. Many 3D printing companies right now are not releasing the full source code for their software, even though their software is based on open source software. And that's a problem. If any of these companies were to actually close down their software in that way and not release the full code to the public that allows you to just remove any of those restrictions, they would get in trouble legally. And this has actually happened. As I write in the wiki, the source disclosure rule has been enforced against printer makers by name. In August 2018, after Cruelty shipped its CR10 line with the GPL v3 firmware Marlin and did not release the corresponding source, US distributor Printed Solid publicly stopped selling Cruelty machines over the violation. The fights continued with Cython compiled binary modules shipped inside GPL v3 Clipper environment and so on and so forth. Now, the problem that exists right now with open source software is that if somebody hits you, you could call 911. If somebody steals from you, you call 911. If somebody releases a fork of open source software but doesn't provide you with the source for the binary blobs, that's like, what do you do? Call 911, 611, 311. There's nobody you call for that. You call your own lawyer and you pay $1,200 an hour and you wait 3 to 6 years in court to get any result. That sucks. Our legal system is already like carrying a boulder up a hill by yourself to get any sort of violations of open source licenses prosecuted and to have the companies held accountable. Now, if you're saying that there needs to be proprietary tracking code inside of this that users can't get around, you're essentially incentivizing every 3D printer manufacturer to break these laws that are already not being enforced very well because there are other laws that suggest they do that. Or what they could do is they could just rebuild the entire stack from scratch, which most of them are not going to do. They're going to pull out of those markets. Bamboo is not going to recreate this stuff from scratch. Prusa and Cruelty, they're not going to create their own slicers from scratch, not using any GPL license code whatsoever. You're talking about having to rebuild software that has been worked on for 5 or 10 years from scratch and make something that's better immediately, just so that you could sell in one state. That's not realistic. But let's say it was. You have now killed the open source ecosystem for 3D printers. And one of the great things about having open source software is that manufacturers can't make it shittier. When I talk about a thermostat that becomes a subscription or an exercise bike that you can't use other apps on anymore because the manufacturer sent out a firmware update, that's only possible because the source code is closed source. If it was open source, you wouldn't be allowed to do that. Just like I edited my terminal software so that I'm allowed to rename my tabs, open source software locks a company out of the ability to make it shittier because any programmer that can see the source code can just remove the parts that they've made shittier over time. You are now encouraging the ecosystem to move in this closed source direction, which means more enshittification, more subscriptions, more limitations added on over time, more, oh, I see you've printed 10 items today. If you want to go over your item quota of 10, you need to pay me 99 cents a month. But that wasn't in the original terms. Well, it is now. That's what happens when you have closed source firmware and you require the device to connect to the internet. You are taking an inherently open ecosystem and you are not only encouraging it to be enshittified, you are legally mandating that it become enshittified. And you're giving every single manufacturer the pretense to do so. We have to do that because of safety and security and to comply with this law. We don't want to lock down our platform. We don't want to break AGPL licensing. But Governor Hochul told us to. Forget about 3D printing and enshittification for a moment. You are codifying enshittification into the fucking law. The entire thing that I focus on this channel. It's not 3D printing and it's not guns. It's when you buy something, you own it. It is yours. If I want to use this silicon dust HD home run tuner that I bought 20 fucking years ago so that I could record full HD copies of 24 because I did not want to watch Jack Bauer kill terrorists in 480i. Do I look like a peasant? I wanted my 720p and 9 megabit per second MPEG-2 from Fox. If I want to use this thing, I can still use this without connecting it to the internet. To this day, it will still work. That's the way devices are supposed to be. That's what I advocate for here on this channel every single day. Less digital locks, less digital restrictions. Because when a company says that you need to connect to the internet in order to use your device, that company owns the device, not you. New York State is codifying into the law that you don't own what you bought and paid for. The manufacturer will always have a hand in your device, and they've given them a pretense to be able to say, we didn't want to do this to make things shittier, we just want to do it to make things safer because we have to. And if you think that they're going to change the way they do things just for that market, fuck no. Many of these companies that have open source stuff, they want to close down their ecosystem. Bamboo wants to close down their ecosystem. Cruelty wants to close down their ecosystem. These companies can't wait to enshittify and make things more proprietary. And they want to do that in many more markets than New York. If they do that in one market, it's just like right to repair. I always talk about this with the right to repair. You're not going to get to a point where you can have a schematic in Dallas, but you're not going to have a schematic in Austin. That's not how any of this stuff works in the modern age. And the same is true here. You're not going to have an enshittified printer in New York. Many of these companies are going to use that as a pretext to sell enshittified printers everywhere. I'm sorry, Ms. Hochul. I know that we're not complying with AGPL and GPL licenses, but we did it to follow your law. Can you tell that prosecutor to give us a break? Can you tell that judge to leave us alone? You're destroying the concept of open source software. And above all, you're putting spyware inside of your entire fucking manufacturing chain. This is a major self-own, and these bills are getting pushed around the country. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm just telling you how bad it is. What can you do to push back against it? That's an excellent fucking question. And I have put that on the Consumer Rights Wiki, and I have it all here for anybody who is actually interested. The whole mandate hinges on one factual question the statute holds to a working group, whether geometry scanning can be made to work. One infeasibility finding under Executive Law Section 837 AA stops the rulemaking, and the printer sales requirement never takes effect. The highest leverage thing you can do is put solid technical evidence that scanning cannot work in front of that working group, and I give you all of the details of exactly how to do that over here. I give you links to click. I've tried to make it as easy as humanly possible. For the love of God, please do me a favor and read them, and don't email me asking how to do it. I get like 300 to 600 emails a day. Man, I need you guys to just figure this stuff out. If you want to live in a society where every single piece of manufacturing hardware does not have spyware built into it, if you want to live in a society where companies are not having their arm twisted to go closed source with everything, if you want to have any freedom over what you bought and paid for, help out. I would do this. I don't live in New York anymore, and something tells me after the video series I've done on them, they don't really give a fuck about my opinion one way or the other. But if you do live in New York, it would be great if you could reach out to your legislators. This has to be beat. If it doesn't, then we really are going to be living in a world where I want to 3D print a camera flash and my printer connects to the internet. The clanker inside of it says, I'm sorry, I think that is a gun. For the same reason that Gemini says, I'm sorry, you told me to do something? I did not actually do any of it. I just lied to you. Fuck that. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.